Well, a very good morning, afternoon, evening to you whenever you're watching or listening. My name's Amanda Joy. I'm the Director of Studies at the Northern College of Clinical Hypnotherapy, and you've tuned in to a fantastic episode of HypnoGeeks. HypnoGeeks is the podcast for hypnotherapists who want to not just survive, but thrive in their businesses and in their practices. And it's really gives me a fantastic honor and privilege to introduce Tracey Alport, my amazing guest today.
Woohoo!
Welcome to
Thank you.
Tracy. Tracy is an occupational therapist, and although she isn't a clinical hypnotherapist, she's a remedial hypnotherapist, and she's a control practitioner, and she works with the subconscious. And this is, what we do. We just have different names for it, and we've just had a little chat before interviewing, and there's so many similarities in terms of what we do and what we call things in hypnosis and what they do, and I'm so excited to have Tracy on today, because I have a lot of students and graduates and clients as well who have got questions about menopause. I've got a lot of students and graduates who are really passionate about wanting to work and set up their business supporting women who are going through menopause. And although I've got some basic ideas and I know a lot of really incredibly powerful tools and techniques, it's not my speciality. It's not my area of speciality. Talk to me about addictions, talk to me about hypnobirthing, talk to me about natural fertility. I'm right there. But talk to me about menopause and stuff. I kind of go, ooh, scary stuff, menopause stuff. And I was kind of thought, ooh, okay. So I'm so delighted to have an expert, a specialist in all things to do with the menopause, to come on to today's podcast. Welcome to the show, Tracy.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So tell us just a little bit about your background, because you have got like a list of qualifications. You're a wealth of knowledge. And obviously you are working a lot with the subconscious, but tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I've been an occupational therapist for 29 years now. And basically, oh gosh, we're going back 2012. I started having a series of gynae surgeries, and the stress of all of that tipped me into perimenopause. And at that time I was like, oh, well, I don't really know what this means. But I soon found out, and my consultant at the time was, really worried about me. And he said, look, everything I'm doing is making you worse. You need to find complementary therapies to help you. It is unusual for an NHS consultant to do that. But he recognized that I needed some help, but he couldn't give it to me. So I then went on a journey of discovery, trying to find ways to help myself. And I was feeling a bit frustrated with my job at the time. I was just doing it with my eyes closed. And so with my OT hat on, I thought, right, I need to find some purposeful activity for myself to help me feel better. So I trained to be a massage therapist. I had no intention of running my own business at all. But all of the clients that were coming to me were women very similar to myself, who were experiencing stress and distress and hormonal imbalance.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I can marry together my newfound massage skills with my OT skills. Big light bulb moment.
Amazing.
And then, I was seeing an aromatherapist regularly, and that was really, really helping me, having someone to actually hold space for me and, creating beautiful oils that were meeting all of my various needs. And then massage, which was really helping to calm my very heightened nervous system. And I thought, right, I need to train in aromatherapy. It had reignited my love of essential oils that I'd forgotten from 25 years previous. So basically that sort of sent me on this journey of learning various therapies that I was then implementing in my own life and finding that they were really, really helpful. And then I lost my best friend. She died literally within 2 weeks of the leukemia diagnosis, just as I was launching my business full time. And I have to say it was tough. And I spiraled into a very, very dark place, and couldn't really see a way out. It was really tough. And I went along to a control system workshop. The control system was devised by Tim Box. Didn't really know a lot about it, but just thought, well, that looks interesting. Let's give that a try. And it flicked a switch for me, in that I was then able to function through my grief. And, you know, if you like, I saw the light again, and it was so empowering. And I felt like it was the missing tool in my box. So it was that whole mind-body connection, which is so important for me as a therapist. And as an OT, you know, we very much look at the whole person. And it was just like, I've got to train in this. And then I've gone on to become a presenter, so I can run workshops now as well. And it's just an amazing tool. It's really helpful.
It's wonderful. So I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit more about what the control system is, because I know you were saying there's a bit of a 4-part process to the control system, and how it works with recognizing patterns and recognizing barriers and working with the subconscious. And there's a lot of real similarities with that particular technique and what we do in hypnosis, but it's almost like Tim took an element of hypnosis and beautifully refined it and expanded on it, and it's just this most amazing, powerful tool. So tell us a little bit more about the kind of the philosophy of it, how it works, and what's it all about.
Tim was a clinical hypnotherapist, became exhausted by the whole script model and the time that it took to take people down into trance and to work with them, and then you wouldn't know actually if what you've done has really worked. And so he, just by chance, he was, you know, speaking to a friend, and a friend said, "Oh, can you stop me from biting my nails?" And he went, "Well, it wouldn't be very ethical for me to just work with you without working with you properly." And they went, "Oh, go on then, let's give it a go." And so he actually discovered it in a way by chance. And started to then back engineer the system. And basically he's created a 4-part system where we identify exactly what the issue is, what is the current pattern of behavior or habit or thought that the client is really struggling with. We help them to work out what is the pattern that they really want. And most people obviously know what they really want, but why is it that they can't get there? There are barriers in the way that are stopping them from actually achieving where they really want to be. So we work out what those barriers are, and then we talk directly to the subconscious by creating subconscious dominance. And we then speak directly to those parts of the subconscious that are running those old patterns, and we get them to change them. And we're working on the basis of the analogy of the mind being like a ship. So the conscious is the captain and the subconscious is the crew. And it's the crew that has its hands on the ship that's doing all of the jobs.
They're doing the steering.
They're doing the steering.
Directions.
And their job is to steer us towards happiness. And what tends to happen is that they get stuck doing old patterns because of maybe something that's happened, a traumatic event, or they've learned how to do something when they were a child before they knew any better. So it's finding that specific crew member and helping them through delivering insights to change how they've been doing things, so they can actually realize that there is a different way and that there is a better way to actually steer us towards happiness. So it's a really beautiful model that people really connect with, because obviously we've all got imagination, and that's what we, you know, that's how our subconscious works. It's it uses emotion and imagination. And obviously in a therapeutic environment, we're not going to want to make someone cry or, you know, upset them. So we use imagination, and it works so well. And the 4-part process is magical in itself, because actually clients know exactly how long the system is going to take, how long, you know, how much time they've got to commit to it, and that they'll facilitate a change in a short amount of time.
And that's
it's
what
great
we want,
for us.
really, isn't it?
Yeah.
We want rapid transformation.
Absolutely.
We want to move into a positive direction. We want to support our clients to move into a positive direction.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with what you were saying about scripts as well. You know, what we do, you know, when we're not a scriptology college, so we're really of the same kind of mindset in that way. I actually say to my students, scripts are like fast food. They'll stunt your growth as a therapist. They can inspire you and give you a little bit of a fix when you need to feel like you're looking for something or want a bit of inspiration, but actually we want to work with the person that's in front of us, and support them to overcome the challenges that they have, as opposed to just, you know, putting them into trance and reading a script. Now, you don't work in trance at all.
No, we don't. We're trained to use trance. So we understand about hypnotherapy, and potentially we could use it if we wanted to, but we don't need to, because we get good results without trance. And a lot of the clients actually feel more comfortable with being awake and involved and empowered in the process, as opposed to something being done to you and then walking away thinking, oh, has this worked or not? Where actually we've got agreement straight away from the subconscious. You know, they've said, yeah, we're happy to change this. And then they go away, and the you know, we've got the captain and the crew working beautifully together when they leave our room.
Love that. I love getting the captain and the crew to work together. And because we're not a script based college, we actually do exactly the same as that. We work in a very empowering way.
Yeah, brilliant.
We encourage our clients to seek and to find their own solutions, and that's a beautiful, empowering process. I'm so delighted that I've got you on, because it's brilliant. So good to get a completely different perspective, but actually be talking the same language.
It's amazing. It really is. Because we teach our clients as well, actually, how to speak to their own subconscious. And, you know, I think we've lost the art of actually being still and listening and hearing what our mind is saying to us. You know, maybe I shouldn't mention a specific book, but I had a client come to me who she said, oh, I've read this book, and she said, I put my chimp away in the corner and I lock it in a cage.
Already.
You know the book already. I lock my chimp away. She said, but it's getting really, really noisy, and it's really aggressive, and it's waking me up in the middle of the night. And I said, because you're locking away part of your subconscious that wants to be heard. You need to listen to what your mind is saying. You know, you block something away, put it in a dark corner and try and ignore it, it's going to come and bite you on the bottom, isn't it?
Yeah, I say to my students, the subconscious is like a 3-year-old who's discovered the word why, and they're like, but why, mummy, why, daddy, why, tell me, I'll tell you in a minute, go away. And the more you tell them to go away, the more you try and put them off and say, I'm going to get to you in a minute, I'm coming, I'll be there. The louder they get, the more effective it gets.
Absolutely.
And the subconscious communicates through physical responses, it communicates through illness, it communicates through emotional responses, communicates through reactions. If you're not listening, it will get louder, and you'll be forced to listen.
Absolutely. You know, I see it so much, clients who come for a massage and they'll say, gosh, my shoulder is absolutely killing me. They've had no injury. It's got nothing to do with, probably in most instances, a physiological issue. It's what's going on up here, and they're just not listening.
And I always say, you know, if you've got a client that's sat in front of you and they've got tight neck and shoulders, the neck is the most vulnerable part of the body. the big
Absolutely.
scary monsters chasing after you.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You're going to bring your chin in, you're going to raise your shoulders up, you're going to make those muscles like big, solid, hard blocks of armor.
Ready to kill the bear.
Ready to go to battle. So it's really interesting to just notice how people's body is and how their demeanor is and where they're holding themselves when they come into your room. But I really got you on. We could talk about this for ages, but I really got you on because I wanted to talk about menopause. Let's just start with, okay, what is perimenopause and what is menopause, and how do you know? 3 questions really. How do you know when the menopause has actually started?
Okay, so let's take it back to, you've asked me a lot of questions there.
There's 3 there at least.
Let's take it back right to the basics of the definitions. So you've actually got pre-menopausal, which means that, you know, you're bumbling along, living your life, not noticing anything at all. Yeah?
All good.
Perimenopause is the time before you hit menopause. It's the time when you'll start to experience various symptoms because your hormone levels are fluctuating pretty wildly.
Okay, it's like a transitional phase.
It's a transition before you hit menopause. Now, menopause is literally one day in your life. And it means that you have gone a whole 12 months without having a period.
Okay.
So that one day you've hit menopause. If you have a period on day 363, there's 364 days in a year, isn't there? Then you haven't hit menopause. You start right back at day 1. And you have to wait another 12 months. Okay. So you're menopausal literally on that one day, 12 months post having no periods. Then you literally step straight into being post-menopausal. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that any symptoms that you've had will stop. Some symptoms can continue to go on for many years. It all depends on the state of your hormones. So, yeah, that's, I think, and I do think it's really important to just clarify what those terms are, because what tends to happen is that the term menopause is just used globally. Oh, I'm menopausal. Yeah. Well, actually, you're either perimenopausal or postmenopausal.
You're just menopausal for one day.
What? Yeah, menopausal for one day. Just fascinating, isn't it?
I mean, I've lived in different parts of the world, and I know that in certain parts of the world where I've been, menopause is really celebrated. Women get gifts and they, you know, receive it's really looked up to and really kind of
because it's about celebrating wisdom, isn't it? And women really stepping into their knowing and their being and growing up and understanding your own skin and who are you as a person.
Yeah,
but I think in our
the cultures where I was, they were really sort of like revered at that point. Okay, now they've this is the person who I'm going to go to for advice. This is who I'm going to go to understand my life, to help me with my body and understanding my body, to help me with my sexual relationships, to give me advice in all aspects of life.
Like, we're full of wisdom and knowledge. Absolutely.
Whereas here it's like,
there's a tendency where there's fear, there's worry, there's trepidation. You start to feel invisible. You don't feel like you have any worth potentially because you aren't reproducing anymore. You know, it can be a really strange time, and a massive time of adjustment for a lot of women. But I think if you enter into it with the right frame of mind. Now, I've had a really, really tough perimenopause, and that's why I've specialized in it.
Yeah.
you know, I've had issues the whole of my reproductive life with, you know, premenstrual disorder. And if you've had premenstrual disorder and postnatal depression, you're more likely to have a more difficult perimenopause. Okay. So, you know, it's so important that actually you do embrace this time of life with the right mindset and be, you know, aware of what is likely to happen, so you can actually take action, and then you can support yourself.
Right mindset, embracing it as a time where you're really coming into your own, you're becoming that wise woman in your tribe. It's really difficult, and I tend to experience, I see a lot of clients coming with physical symptoms.
Yes.
Hot flushes.
Yeah.
And in Spain they used to call them heat hits, not hot
flushes.
Right. Because it was like a volcano erupting inside you all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Night sweats, and this is like you have to change the bedding because it's so disturbed sleep patterns, not being able to rest, and proper or just doze, but just in this kind of constant
half comatose state. It's
not
horrid.
Very nice. No sex, like total loss of your mojo. Your sex drives
completely.
Just like
libido. What's that? Yeah.
Like, ooh, romance. Can we not just put slippers on and watch a bit of telly and that's it? You know, I'd rather have a nice cup of tea and an early night love than you know, the romance and the passion. And I think, you know, those sorts of things are really very important parts of being a human. So those are challenges. And then, you know, painful sex is
absolutely. Vaginal atrophy, changes to the sensitivity of the skin. You know, the clitoral hood can actually retract back, which makes touch extremely painful, to the point where some women can't even bear to have pants next to their vulva. It's so painful. You know, difficulties with passing urine, urgency, stress incontinence, you know, those all of the what they now term genital urinary symptoms of menopause. They always give us these really sexy terms, don't they? GSM for short.
GSM sounds like some kind of
sounds quite inappropriate.
Bad morning television program, doesn't it? No, it's BMTV, isn't it?
So and it's
and then there's the emotional aspect of it as well.
The mood swings, the forgetfulness, the brain fog, you know, the memory issues, depression, anxiety, difficulties concentrating, low motivation. And then those things, you know, the physical issues can then create secondary psychological issues. It can be
irritability,
really...
just mildly annoyed all the time.
Yes, and sometimes more than mildly. Ready to kill with knives and things.
Oh God, I just feel like we've just listed all some horrible things.
Also, I think what's really important, Amanda, is that if you're experiencing symptoms, you need to listen to what your body is saying, because they're happening for a reason. So, for example, hot flushes can be a sign of vascular inflexibility. You know, your body isn't working to its best capacity. So you really need to like hone in on eating well, cutting down on alcohol, cutting out caffeine, you know, just eating clean. There are supplements that you can take that can help, but it's about, you know, exercising, doing all of those things that are going to maximize your health and well-being. So, you know, if your mind or your body are triggering off symptoms, there's a reason for that, and don't ignore it. So, you know, you can empower yourself to make changes, and lifestyle changes are absolutely essential. And whether you choose to actually take HRT or not, because either you can't or you choose not to, you need to actually look at lifestyle factors. Because even HRT, you'll maximize the benefits of HRT, and it will work better if, for example, you're managing your stress levels. So HRT isn't a quick fix. For some women, it can take months, 18 months, 2 years to actually get those levels right. For some, it's more of an instant result. Everybody is different. But even if, because we're all aging, even if you're taking medication or you're not, you've got to look after yourself.
Yeah.
And
I think you've got to have the right mindset to have the desire, the motivation,
absolutely,
to change. And I think that's where hypnosis and the work that you do really comes in, because we've got so many tools and techniques that we can use to help our clients to make those changes. To motivate them to make those changes, but to kind of sustain those changes, because no point going for all those lifestyle changes if 6 months down the line it's going to go out the window.
Absolutely.
And I think
you have got to make a commitment. You've got to make a commitment to look after yourself and be in it for the long haul. I talk about my lifestyle now being like a management plan, because if I step off my management plan, then things will start to go awry. If I start eating a load of sugary cake, for example, I know that I'm going to suffer for that. I haven't drank alcohol for the last year because it was having such a detrimental effect. I was starting to get hot flushes, which I hadn't had before. And you just think, well, what's the point? It's just not worth suffering.
And we've learned, haven't we, that quite often things like sugar, we have sugar at every celebration. We have sugar when we reward ourselves. It's at every lovely event. So we're anchored to have sugar.
Baby's dummy, isn't it? Just instant gratification.
Great amount of comfort and pain relief from. So all of a sudden, if we're choosing not to have sugar anymore, we might need to do something to help us to deal with sugar cravings, to let go of sugar cravings, to move on. And this is where what we do really, really powerfully helps to communicate with the subconscious, to listen to what the subconscious desires, and to nourish the subconscious with something that's going to be healthy and wonderful and healthy, happy choices that are going to feel good and nurturing, and not just this toxic quick fix. Also, I loved what you said about being connected to your body, because we all become really disconnected. We live in our heads, don't we? We do. Thinking, we're all over the place. And what we do when we're working with the subconscious is we take people to a place where they're very much connected to their body, where they can really powerfully listen to what their body is telling them. And of course, we can really, really help with reducing stress. So tell me a little bit more specifically about the control system and how you use that with people who are perimenopausal or postmenopausal.
Yeah, so obviously every individual is different. So it depends what they're presenting with. What are their difficulties? What is their priority to work on? And we try to focus on one priority at a time, because I think what tends to happen when we're in perimenopause is that we become so overwhelmed with everything that is going on, and you get lost in the melee of all of the different various symptoms that you might be experiencing, which can obviously appear really very random. So it's about, well, what is that one thing, the most important thing that is going to really help you, that we can then focus on? And then if you can change that one thing, it then becomes a catalyst for changing others as well. So it's a case of, well, obviously it depends what they've come to work on.
So you're going to select unique techniques depending on the unique.
So it's about So I mean, one of the big things that I tend to find that a lot of women will present with is that they're overstressed. They're in a state of distress. And the one thing really that you need to focus on in perimenopause is reducing your stress levels.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because physiologically, I mean, we all know obviously that stress isn't good for us, but as our estrogen levels start to reduce, and the estrogen is produced by the ovaries, our adrenal glands start to take over the production of estrogen. We also obviously can store it in fat, which is why we tend to sort of get a little bit of a middle-aged tummy. But if your adrenal glands are working overtime because you're in a stressed state, then they're not going to prioritize producing sex hormones. So you really need to be managing your stress levels. So often, you know, people will come to me with anxiety and stress. And so if we actually help to manage those, and we find the parts of the subconscious that is struggling at that moment in time, we get them to do a better job and do a job that's going to be more productive and help facilitate a happier well-being, then actually the whole nervous system calms down, and then the hormones start to balance out.
So it's almost like what we would call ego state therapy or parts therapy.
Yes.
Where we negotiate, we work with the different parts that are causing or want to be heard. We listen to them,
absolutely,
we acknowledge them, and then it seems to me that perimenopause, postmenopause, menopause, the one day you're menopausal, it seems to be that this time in life is a really incredible opportunity.
Absolutely.
Just really evaluate who you are and where you are, evaluate the lifestyle, really look at what do I love in my life, what do I want to keep in my life, what's not serving me, what's not helping me.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've got some amazing techniques that we can use to help with hot flushes, where we can help people to feel cooler. We've got loads of visualizations, there's metaphors, there's ways of communicating with the subconscious and really listening to your body.
Absolutely.
So you can, you know, everybody's so different, like you were saying, it would depend what they're coming with, but it just seems like it's an incredible opportunity.
It is massive. Absolutely.
And people are ready for change at this time, aren't they?
They are, and change is happening naturally. Often, you know, our children are leaving home, you know, we might be changing jobs, we might be thinking more about our careers, you know, obviously thinking about our relationships. There is so much that is occurring, and it's, you know, I really do encourage my clients to think about taking some time to rest and reflect, you know, actually to just go inward. And obviously, you know, the hypnosis work is really helpful for that. You know, what is it that they want? What do they see their future? How do they want to actually live the last third of their lives? You know, this is a big chunk, and it's such an empowering time and an amazing time to actually be able to nurture your mind and your body to, you know, and I do see perimenopause, you know, thinking about it as that pause. You know, what is it that you need to do? What do you need to change? You can't continue to abuse your body like you did when you were in your 20s. You know,
that's a shame.
I know, you can't go out and drink 8 vodkas and not expect to feel really, really rough the next day. Absolutely. So, you know, you know, it comes back to mindset again, doesn't it? You know, so working with people on managing their mood, managing their mindset, you know, managing their sleep as well. And it might be, for example, I know you do a lot of work with ladies around their nutrition and wanting to lose weight, etc. So, you know, we don't focus necessarily on weight loss, but it's about changing those habits which will help you to work towards weight loss.
We're not really with hypnosis, it's not about a diet. It's like exactly what you say. It's about achievable small steps that are a permanent change, that are a way of adapting and moving into a more healthier mindset around food. It's about enjoying the food that we have, and it's about reconnecting with those lovely healthier options, and not just filling your system with toxic crap.
Absolutely. And changing those habits and behaviors of having the toxic crap, feeling that you deserve to have a glass of wine every night when you get home from work because you've had a really tough day. So looking at being able to change those habits to create more positive ones, which will actually serve you for the longer term.
There is so much that we can do with therapeutic interventions, helping people with their body temperatures, with flushes, with lifestyle changes, with motivation to change, a time of pause, a time of reflection, a time to set priorities, objective setting, priority setting, reflection, stress reduction. It's a whole holistic, all-encompassing program. So if you are a therapist and you are thinking about, working in this area, there is so much we can do to support. And if you do want to learn more about the control system, how do we find out more if we're thinking about doing
well, I'm more than happy for people to if people want to contact me directly, they can. So you can contact me through my website, which is moththerapies.co.uk. And I'm more than happy to answer any questions from the point of view of a practitioner, someone who's experienced it themselves and also now a presenter. Tim has got some training coming up in January. He's restarting face-to-face in January, all being well.
Exciting.
But he's also offering training online now. So no matter where you are around the world, you can become a practitioner. The brilliant thing about the training is also the after support, and we have monthly forums and supervision, and we do specialist topics every month, and we're basically a family. We all support each other. So it's a really great community, and there's about nearly 100 of us all around the world now.
It's amazing. And this technique can be done open eye. So although we wouldn't maybe have the same language as from my perspective, it's an open eye technique. So great for anyone who perhaps trance work wouldn't be appropriate for. So it's a fantastic tool to add to your toolbox. If you are thinking about finding out a bit more, do go over to Tracy's website and have a good look at it. Tracy, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Coming on the HypnoGeeks this week and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom. It's a topic that just keeps coming up at the moment.
It is.
So I'm really grateful to have such an expert come on and share your wisdom and your knowledge. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks for watching HypnoGeeks. Have an amazing month. Take care. Lots of love. Bye for now.